come on in. Just getting to 1 or 12 noon Eastern right now. We're gonna get started. Lena, it's good to see you. Robin, and hey, take a look as people come in. Take a look at your center console on the Zoom. There's a question and answer function built into Zoom. Get ready to use that. If you got questions, the more we interact, the better. I teach grad school. In the old days, we were in person. I could see people, and based on their body language and questions, could really kind of engineer the learning accordingly. So we'll get started just like 1 or 2 minutes after 12 noon to get things going. Craig, yep, Constanza, that's good. Come on in with webinars. You got front row seats. And then, we're going to get ready to make a flight here. It's going to be, full acceleration. All right. So, okay. So we're at the hour right here. So, hey, welcome to the, to the event here. And it's, bold moves, money, what's your flight plan? And we're going to go from, jumping the hurdles to, that smooth landing that most of us want out of our businesses, most of us want out of our lives. So, if you just came in, take a look at your Zoom console. There's a Q&A function. So I'm going to monitor that. If you got questions, if you got something you want to add to the conversation, literally just throw it in. The more interaction, the better. So, let's set the stage here, right? When I was in the Army, the military flights had a thing called space available. Since we're Army, we had to go to the Air Force base, and literally you'd ask, what are the next flights out where you have empty seats, so that somebody like me, the Army guy, can jump in with his buddies and go anywhere, right? And we, in the military, we had roughly 2 weeks of leave that we could take at any given time. We had a little bit of money, but we didn't have a destination. Imagine typical Army guys. So things come up. We jumped into the next flight, and we ended up in Heidelberg, Germany. And somehow from there we made it, using the trains across the small towns, we made it to Rome. And it's fun. It's freedom, right? There's no hard objective, no accountability, and enjoyed 2 weeks, kind of going from place to place. And somehow we ended up, after about 2 weeks, we ended up back in Germany to catch a flight. And catching the flight out of Germany was different than catching the flight into Germany. I mean, literally after waiting like 14 hours, I wish I had more fingers, I could show you 14 hours. And pretty much knew you're not going to make it back home on time. And in my case, there was an officer who was expecting me back home on time, as an accountability. So, my buddies and I, we had to reach into our pockets, those last minute commercial flights, and it was expensive. The trip was fun. It was chaotic. It was ad hoc, but at the end of the day, it left us with no money. And I just realized that I'm not screen sharing. I can't believe that. So I'm going to screen share now, and then rock and roll. Okay, all these great images. I'm just going to kind of, the military flight out. We landed in Heidelberg, Germany. Got stranded because going to Germany was easier than coming back, and we had to reach deep into our pockets, and we're out of money, right? And at that point I was relatively low in the totem pole, so the flights kind of wiped me out. So taking this to the next step, with 3 decades of business building starting in high school, many CEOs run their business in a very similar fashion. It's normal. CEOs see something that's possible and they jump in, right? They're moving, they're jumping hurdles, they're getting things done. Sometimes they fall. You hit a hurdle, you land hard, you get back up, right? You keep running. There's more hurdles. Kind of the more you learn about business, when you start out with one thing, as you scale up, wow, there's more hurdles. So what's up with that? How do you get more foresight to see what's coming? So did you ever feel this way, about your business? And then even CEOs, doesn't matter if you're starting out. Many times the CEOs, doesn't matter if you're years or even decades into your business, they might even be ready to step back. They want to pass the baton to the next runner and do something else in life. Work less hard, maybe half retire, maybe full retire, whatever makes sense for them. But even at that point, many CEOs, they don't have a clear destination. They don't know where they need to land to get the outcomes they want. Many times, priorities, outcomes tend to be more, ad hoc based on what pops up as being urgent on any given day. So it's hard to know what's going on across the business because at some point you scaled big enough where it's beyond line of sight. You just can't see what was going on like you could see across all functions when you first started out. So this is even more true in the current world we live in. More than ever before, people are working in different locations, many times virtually, sometimes from their home office. And so the whole thing about being ad hoc, being unclear about the destination, that's growing for a lot of the CEOs that I speak with. So as a result of the lack of clarity, as a result, right, the financial resources are not used well. Sometimes CEOs raise a good amount of money or they get a loan and then the money almost just evaporates, and that there's no outcomes or no meaningful or lasting outcomes for those financial resources. A lot of times pricing, it leaves money on the table. Many times, building people capacity to sell and deliver, it's hit and miss. People have got to be the X factor in business. People show up well on the interviews, but then show up differently when it's time to drive results. And depending on the financial situation, payroll may be stressful, or the cash crunch. Even businesses that are scaling are consuming cash so fast, it could be hard to make payroll, especially if there's a big timing difference between when you do the work and when your clients pay you. So when it's time to pass that baton, 3 out of 4 businesses are not transferable. They have dependencies that are too great. It could be a key customer, but many times it's dependency on that owner, where the owner is the business, and at that point you can't transfer the business easily. Another factor is when it's time to pass that baton is having enough money to do what you want. That can be the real trick, and even knowing what you want to do. So what if there's a better way? At any stage of your business, starting with the destination, do you want to go to West Palm Beach, Paris, Austin, Moscow? There's got to be something interesting to do in Moscow now, right? This includes relationships, right? The relationship that you care about, activities, your interests, whatever you want. What outcomes do you need in your business to achieve this? Achieve the freedom with your relationships, to do things that you care about, financial freedom, right? What outcomes do you need in your business to be able to build the people capacity that really can drive that A player result that you're looking for? But what about uniqueness, right? Is there, if there's a better way, what's unique in your business that makes you so valuable that other people want to step in when you're ready to step out? What's unique in your business that's so useful? You can get a price premium now, so your bottom line is really healthy. Okay, so then charting a flight plan, destination to flight plan. This is where the navigator rolls up their sleeve and they work side by side with you, and then you have a flight crew, you have ground support that are top notch. They execute well. They know where things are at. They know what needs to be done. They take action proactively, right? So the 3 key takeaways from this webinar are as follows. 1, we want to define your destination, just like the flight. Don't do what I did when I was in the military and just jump on a flight and go anywhere. We want to define what is your destination in your business, so that you can get the outcomes that you're looking for. 2, you want to create a clear financial flight plan. Given all your options, what is the right path for you? And 3, you want to make sure that your team across all functions, whether they're inside or beyond your site, they execute well every time. So let's pull back the curtain a bit on this key takeaway number 1 about defining your presentation. This is classic, right? Start with the end in mind. I can't tell you how many times when I talk to a CEO, they kind of have an idea of where they want to end up, but it's fuzzy at best, and many times there's really not an idea. They're accustomed to jumping into work every day, that grind, and not accustomed to, really stepping back and gaining clarity about what is going to be a meaningful outcome for them. So with businesses, define what being the best is versus the biggest. Most privately held businesses are not going to be the biggest in the world, but they can definitely be that David versus Goliath. They can be the best, right? What makes you unique, right? And do your customers care, right? Is the business dependent on you for anything? Because if the business is dependent on you for anything, sales, delivery, you can't pass the torch. Nobody can step in. It's going to limit to how far you can scale because of just sheer capacity. And with that destination in mind, how do you escape the owner's trap? And who's on your team? What are they doing? Who is working side by side with you? A good practice is create a future org chart, not where you are now, but at whatever target revenue size, what does your organization look like, right? What is your management team? Who are on the delivery team, sales, marketing? The future org chart gives clarity, about where your head is, so you know how to build the people capacity proactively versus reacting to when you hit a wall or a stall point. So with this destination, what financial resources do you need, right? So you have freedom to be able to do what you want when you want. What are those four major financial requirements? Growing top line revenue, increasing profit, accelerating that cash velocity, right? So you got positive cash coming in versus negative, and then the value of your business, because that's how you get paid. That second payday for all your hard work, the equity, it has value to someone. It could be next of kin, it could be a third party buyer, it could be a management buyout. Right? There's lots of options for different types of businesses. So with defining your destination, the more detailed you are, the better, right? To get it down to where you can see it, you can feel it, right? And then that pathway starts to make a lot of sense. And that is the key takeaway number 2, right? Where you're creating that clear financial flight plan. This is where you're stepping back at least once a year. Really step back. What do we know now that we didn't know last year? What are the trends? And you're really stepping back and you're working on the business with your key managers, your key leadership people. What are the trends that are going to impact you, so that you go well beyond what you know today in this moment, and challenge the team. Be bold. This is a bold moves webinar. Be bold. Well, what if, right? What's the difference between where you're at now and really doing well, right? And when you're doing well, your team is doing well. So what if, right? Open up those questions. You don't have to know the answer. Just start to open, smart CEOs use smart questions to open things up. So, work through what makes you unique. This is a good practice where you can literally chart yourself out based on what makes you different, less different, more different, and then do your customers care? Because like Betamax, you could be different, but nobody cares. So chart yourself out, compare yourself to others in your marketplace, and figure out what could be really disruptive. What could you do that's decisive? I was talking to a CEO earlier this week, and just amazing what he did. Where he, with no engineering background, literally created LED lighting that works off solar panel and totally cuts out the conversions in between. So massive opportunity. That's a $100 million opportunity, right? Because literally the engineers said it can't be done. So sometimes it's a benefit not to be overly educated, where the engineers knew it could not be done, but the CEO thought differently. Almost like Steve Jobs, give me 10,000 songs on a postage stamp, right? Like, can't be done, but there you go, it's done. So really think about uniqueness, because uniqueness will give you, pricing premiums now, which gives you more cash, stronger bottom lines. When you have a strong, balance sheet and P&L, you got more options about raising capital. Uniqueness is where it's at, and the value of your business is largely driven by uniqueness plus your capacity. So spend time there. At least, the habit is every year really step back. Could be more frequent, but at least every year really think about where you're going to win. So kind of build on that theme as as a key driver as you get your hands around uniqueness. Then the market. Where do you have real potential? And this is another exercise you can do to plot out, from your marketplace, what is an existing market versus a new market. And the same thing with your customers. Do you do more with your existing customers, or do you branch out into new customers? It could be expanding geography. It could be expanding to different segments of customer. If you plot it out here, you'll see lower left, relatively low risk, low hanging fruit. Upper right, higher risk. And you can evaluate the pros and cons of taking each move, so that you're making those bold moves, but also protecting the downside. And this is all part of that, figuring out your financial flight plan. Key things to look at, your marketplace, your uniqueness. And then the third key thing I want to highlight here, there's 8 primary drivers. This is the third one I want to highlight here. I won't go through all 8. That'd be a whole different event. Is when you're thinking about your financial flight plan, your best path forward, what is the business dependent on you for? Are you the primary salesperson? Are you the main person with delivery expertise? Is there a whole bunch of stuff in your head up here because you've been doing this for so long that it seems natural, it's common sense? If any of those areas are locked in with you, you are the business. The business is dependent on you, and it works against short-term scaling because you'll be the bottleneck, and it definitely works towards long-term. It could be near-term, but the value of your business, on average, if the business is dependent on you, that on average the CEO gets locked into a 2.5-year earn-out where some significant portion of the value of your business, the price, is tied up in that 2.5-year period. And there you have it. You have the responsibility to get certain outcomes, but you don't have the authority. Plus, CEOs who have not been an employee sometimes in decades, they don't do well when they're an employee again. They're not the boss, they're not the owner. So invariably, earnouts do not go well, and invariably the owner loses some portion of the value tied up, sometimes a significant portion of the value tied up in that period, and it's miserable. I mean, 2.5 years is a long time not to be happy with your day-to-day activities. So the owner trap is very frequently CEOs are stuck there because they start the business, and just things that they're really good at stay stuck with them. So how do you, this flight plan forward, how do you make the business not dependent on you? All right. That's easier asked than answered. Okay, so now when you're doing these exercises, you're starting to get options. Maybe you take a financial hit to bring in certain kinds of people that can replicate what you do. So a short-term hit, profitability, cash, so that you have the capacity in the out years to really get soaring, have that jet working for you. And when you have those key options on how to grow your business, territories, new products, existing customers, these things that we're talking about here, then evaluate them with the numbers. Nothing provides clarity more than the black and white numbers. Create your baseline business, based on status quo, what you know now, small incremental steps, and then do critical thinking. What if? What if? Right? There could be it could be raising capital and buying a competitor so you have more influence in your marketplace. That's the bold stuff. It could be hiring. You're really developing and hiring a solid management team that helps your employees deliver even better, right? It could be those type of investments. Whatever it is, evaluate, from your baseline, evaluate it with that multi-year financial roadmap. And I intentionally spared you of the deep financial models that tie the P&L, the balance sheet, the cash, and benchmark ratios. But it's a deep model, and you want to do, from the what if, figure out your best path forward. including vigorously assessing your team's performance to be able to follow through on each of those different scenarios. It's easy for things to stop at the planning level, but then not come to fruition on the execution level. And that is the key takeaway number 3. Right, it's that jet, you're flying, you're refueling, it's a precision team. It's so the key takeaway number 3 is execute well every time. Well, when I talk to CEOs, different discovery calls, it comes up frequently that crisp execution just is not there, or team members just aren't aligned with what really matters, what moves the needles. Oftentimes, not real sure what moves the needle, right? And the whole idea that you got to sell your way out of every problem, boy, that's a tough way to go. Sometimes it is the long pole in the tent. Sometimes it's not. There's other things in the business that can be brought to a different level of outcome where people are just doing better. So execution, where you're giving your team members the intel they need to achieve that day-to-day productivity, to make decisions at their level, what they have control of. They can make decisions proactively because they're getting that measurement, not every day of where they stand. Are they above flight plan, below, left, right? And they can make decisions to get things back to where they need to be, right? And then the business starts to line up and get the outcomes that you're looking for. So you need, from making sure your teams are informed. Many times they need financial measurements. Oftentimes there's non-financials. It could be utilization. It could be, whatever packages sent per day, whatever it is. Utilization on space, people, whatever efficiency measurements you're dealing with. Make sure that the people who make decisions and take actions know what their number is, and make sure they control the factors impacting that number, so that they can proactively, with confidence, know what to do and do it. And assess, along with that, really assess team members. Make sure they know if they're in the performance zone or not, at minimal every week. Don't wait for that annual. Can you imagine waiting for the annual evaluation, the annual review, and then find out that I wasn't in the performance zone all year? So 52 weeks, we missed 52 opportunities to get things straight. At least every week, people need to know, well, where there's a gap between where they need to be versus where they're at. And if you've got the right team members, they'll grab it, they'll embrace it, they'll take it, they'll do better. So daily dashboard is a big factor to accomplishing this. For managers with profit and loss responsibility, that the daily dashboard plus the monthly financials, reading the monthly financials like a scoreboard, man, you're starting to get a different outcome. That involve your managers in engineering, profitability going forward through the budgeting. You're starting to get a different outcome of planning and that execution follow through, right? So that's the third key takeaway here. Okay, and why do all this, right? Why, right? The business whirlwind, jumping those hurdles, sprinting every day, falling down, getting back up, and it's working. Here's one reason why. Based on the research that John Worrell did in his book Built to Sell, he identified if those 8 drivers are working for you in the manner that we've been describing, plus in that context, that financial flight plan where you know where you're going, businesses who do this are 71% more valuable than their competitors. So you can do the math real quick. If you got a company doing 5, 10, 15, 20, $30 million, being 71% more valuable than your competitors, for a lot of family, that changes the financial resources for multiple generations. So it creates different options. And if you're a CEO like me, you like options, right? And you like making the right choice. You like being able to follow through. But that's the benefit. I mean, 71% more valuable than the competitors. In addition, you get clarity about making decisions. You get confidence in that daily follow through, and you get peace of mind that you're going to arrive at a meaningful destination, and that with this clarity using the financial models, you're protecting the downside. so that if the cash is draining out faster than expected, which is like, cash is like a fuel to a jet aircraft, you see it. You see it sooner versus seeing it when it's too late. And then you can take appropriate actions, have the data to see what's going on, take appropriate actions. So so you can almost feel it with these practices. You got visibility, you got clarity, you got confidence, you got decision-making follow through working for you. The alternative is you're flying blind, right? You don't have a financial flight plan. You're not sure about your desired destination. You kind of have a feel. I mean, CEOs are smart. If you've been in business for more than 5 years and you're doing more than $1 million, you're literally in the top 2 percentile of all businesses. Only something like 1% of businesses really make it. So literally flying blind. Team members don't have the instruments to know how they're doing. Execution and outcomes suffer. And it just, the alternative is not, it could be okay, but it's not as good as things could be. So to bring things home here, we literally wrote the book. For many CEOs, the empty seat is the growth CFO navigator, that person who works side by side, who can take the financial models and do the analysis to figure out options and bring it back to the team for that clarity of decision making. It is the growth CFO is the future of CFO work, and we put that out in our book. That's going to be released on September the 27th. So you can, by the way, you can pre-order that on Amazon and start to gain even more clarity about what we're talking about here today. If you're ready to do this 25-minute discovery call with me, literally sign up. You can go to our website, and I'm going to put the link in. Let me see if I get the link going up. I'm going to put the link inside the box, the chat box. Right, where if you hit that link, you can grab a spot on my calendar, and then we'll do a 25-minute call. Really going into who you are, what you're looking at, your business, what you're looking to accomplish, your outcomes, your motivation to do it, and then what are the kinks in the hole? What's keeping you from getting that, the outcomes you're looking for? Because maybe our we can help you with the growth CFO 3-person teams to get outcomes. So either way, it's been a real pleasure having you all today. I hope you got something from the 3 takeaways to do even better. And I look forward to seeing you on the next Bold Moves webinar. Next month is going to be about people capacity. Chase Bain's going to join us. We're going to talk about people being the X factor in outcomes for many businesses. So you got the flight plan, you got the people working for you. You can start getting that access to capital to make things happen on the top line, profitability, the velocity of cash. So definitely join us next week. But between now and then, jump in with me on a discovery call to talk about your business. So thanks for joining, and I will talk with you soon.